What's going on, guys? Austin here, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at 5-minute fantasies, Week 10 booming and busting receivers. So if you take a look here, my start of the week I'm going to say is Brandon Aiyuk. He was a guy coming out of Arizona State University that I thought he could end up being the best receiver in this class, and that's saying a lot considering guys like Justin Jefferson and T. Higgins and Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb and Henry Ruggs were all coming out. Brandon Aiyuk had the opportunity to surprise everyone. Him and Jalen Reagor. Brandon Aiyuk is fast. He's dominant. He's been able to carry teams in the past. I think that this could be his coming out game against New Orleans, especially with Deebo Samuel being covered by Marshawn Lattimore. He's got the opportunity to sort of take over the other half of the field. I'm going to say Juju Smith-Schuster versus Cincinnati. I think this is going to be a passing game. Cincinnati's got a really, really good offense, and I don't think the Steelers want to play around with James Conner too much. I saw Juju miss practice this week on Wednesday, I think, but also that he hasn't practiced a single Wednesday this season, I think. They don't have a great cornerback or any sort of secondary on Cincinnati. So look for Juju to have a relatively strong game against Cincinnati. I'm going to say Brandon Cooks at Cleveland for the same reason that I would say to start Brandon Aiyuk, and that's that we've got Denzel Ward, who's going to be covering Will Fuller, and then Brandon Cooks is going to be left to take over the other side of the field against a pretty lackluster defense, at least a lackluster secondary. Brandon Cooks, he's fast, he's got decent hands. As long as he's been healthy, he's been a solid A- to B receiver, just depending on where he's at, starting in New Orleans and eventually working his way around to the Texans. So look to start him if you've got him. I'm going to say Tyler Boyd at Pittsburgh. Tyler Boyd, he's going to end up being, the number 2, I think. T. Higgins is kind of taking over that number 1 spot. I think that T. Higgins is going to end up being covered by Joe Hayden in Pittsburgh, who is still an effective cornerback. So I think Tyler Boyd is going to be getting a lot of those secondary targets that end up happening when the number 1 is being covered. And then I'm going to say Cole Beasley at Arizona for the same reason. I said to sit DK Metcalf against Arizona a couple weeks ago, and that ended up being a great pick because the only play that DK Metcalf made that was of any significance was a tackle. That amazing pick 6 stop. Right here, we've got Cole Beasley. I think that, with Stephon Diggs being covered by Patrick Peterson, Cole Beasley is going to be able to take over the field, and that's going to be a good look for any of you guys that own him. To sit, I'm going to say Stephon Diggs at Arizona because he's covered by Patrick Peterson. I'm going to say sit T. Higgins because he's being covered by Joe Hayden. Will Fuller because he's going to be covered by Denzel Ward. Deebo Samuel because he's going to be covered by Marshawn Lattimore. All these guys have to face bona fide number 1 cornerbacks across their respective teams, and they've all got very effective number 2 wide receivers on their team. It's just the science of football. It's what happens when the number 1 cornerback just decides to sit on an island with these guys, unless the defense has some, stupid, amazing pass rush like the Pittsburgh Steelers has. It's really just a domination from the number 2 wide receiver. I expect Tyler Boyd to do well, however, because Cincinnati has a very, very high functioning offense. Behind Joe Burrow and their wide receiver trio and their relatively strong offensive line, he's the only one right now that I think Tyler Boyd, who's like the strongest number 2 in terms of offensive potential. And then I'm also going to say sit DK Metcalf because he's going up against right now the only cornerback in the league who can match him in terms of height, speed, and strength. Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey doesn't look like a lot of other cornerbacks. A lot of cornerbacks are 6 foot, 5'11" to 6'1", maybe 200 pounds, something like that. Jalen Ramsey is 6'3", 225, 230 pounds. He can match up with DK Metcalf. He's faster than DK, and he's nearly as strong. DK looks to be incredibly strong, but Jalen Ramsey is an incredible athlete. So be careful about starting DK there. again with my video. All right, guys, I want to thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, or if you didn't, I don't care. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and stay up to date for all of our future content.